Please take your seats. Good afternoon and welcome, families and friends, Berkeley faculty and staff, and our esteemed guests, Professor Robert Reich and Vice Provost Lisa Garcia-Bedoya. And most importantly, welcome graduates. Welcome to the Berkeley School of Education's 2025 commencement ceremony. Congratulations on reaching this remarkable milestone. It is such a joy to be with you this afternoon as we honor your significant achievements. I'm Michelle Young, and I'm the Dean of the Berkeley School of Education, and it is truly a privilege to celebrate this moment with all of you. Our event this afternoon offers an opportunity to recognize each of our impressive graduates. We are so proud of you. You have worked very hard to get here, and you're graduating from the #1 public university in the world. And perhaps more importantly than that, you have chosen a field that allows you to transform lives. And before we begin, I want to request that everyone here silence your cell phones, stay in your seats, and keep your aisles clear. As we all know, the University of California is a free speech university. Yes, that is worth clapping about. And yet, that does not give anyone the right to engage in any kind of action that disrupts this event or prevents any of our speakers from being heard. Individuals who are disrupted will be asked to leave. We hope everyone here has an enjoyable and memorable time. So let's begin. This year marks a historic milestone for the School of Education. For the very first time, we celebrate our graduate students as well as our undergraduate students who are earning their Bachelor's of Science in the Education Sciences. To our inaugural class of Bachelor students, sincere congratulations. And to all of our graduates, as you donned your academic regalia today, you joined a centuries-old tradition, one that honors achievement, but also symbolizes your readiness to shape our collective future. Some of you are going into practice, some of you are going into research, but all of you are essential to the hard work of opening up young minds, enabling thinkers, leaders, workers, and discoverers of the future. The researchers among you will pursue discovery and innovation that feeds the practice of others in the field. The practitioners among you will apply those insights in classrooms, schools, and communities. It's a circle, and you are all part of it. Our centers of education, our schools and universities, are where democracy lives or dies. And you, graduates, are its defenders, its leaders. You have an awesome responsibility to protect not just education, but the very foundation of our civic life. That is the work of education, and that work is sacred. Education, as you know, is an accelerator of human potential. A single graduate here today may become a teacher, a principal, a policymaker, a faculty member. And that one person, their influence is exponential, touching the lives of hundreds, even thousands over the course of a career. The ripple effect of our BSc graduates will have on the learning, curiosity, and potential of others is immense. And everyone in this room should feel very, very good about that. A few weeks ago, yes. I feel very good about that. A few weeks ago, when I spoke to the president of my alma mater, I was flooded with memories of the professors who helped shape me, opened up doors that I didn't even know existed. And my hope is that each of you will be that person for somebody else. You each arrived here compassionate and committed, and through your studies, you have deepened your knowledge, sharpened your insights, and strengthened your convictions. You've learned to ask hard questions, to analyze data, to embrace complexity, to foster learning, and to hold space for all voices. You are ready. In short, you've become the kinds of scholars, leaders, educators, school psychologists, and humans that future generations truly, richly deserve. I am so glad that each one of you chose Berkeley and allowed us the privilege of walking beside you on your educational journey. And I look forward to seeing you thrive, opening doors and lighting the way for others. You are the future. You are the hope. Go forth and ignite a brighter future for all. Congratulations again, and fiat lux. Let there be light. We have an inspiring lineup of speakers today. Our first speaker is Emma Rose Neal. Emma is graduating from UC Berkeley with a bachelor degree in education sciences and a bachelor's degree in media studies. Her passion for education began as a piano teacher in Marin County, where she established a thriving studio of 45 students of all ages. After transferring here from the community colleges, she worked as an undergraduate researcher for the Center for Research on Expanding Educational Opportunity, and as co-president of Aspiring Educators and Student Affair Professionals, a vibrant UC student organization that she co-founded amongst her peers this year. Please welcome Emma Rose Neal.
Thank you so much. Dear classmates, family, faculty, staff, and guests, it is an absolute honor to address you all this afternoon. And what a privilege it is to be in a room filled with our country's brightest educators, researchers, and school leaders. For many of us graduating today, we have spent countless hours over the past few years in K-12 classrooms. So I think some of you might relate to me when I say how there always seems to be that one kid that just won't stop asking questions, like nonstop. And more often than not, that question is just one simple word: why? And that kid used to be me. Growing up, I questioned everything. My teacher would say, "Okay, class, time to take a seat." And I'd think to myself, why? We can learn standing up. And when it came to high school and we had to learn things like the quadratic formula, I learned why we had to learn something that seemed so unimportant to me at the time. And to this day, I still don't know the answer to all of the questions I asked, especially the quadratic formula one. However, what I do know is that over time, my curiosity has only grown to try to begin to understand the challenging and complex world around me. And at Berkeley, I've been able to ask questions about the schools and systems that have shaped who I am today. In Dr. De Los Rios' class, I began to ask why English dominates our classroom in a country rich with languages, why language like my own mother tongue, Bisaya, were forced to be unlearned. In Professor Quintero's class, I learned why schools like the ones I grew up in remain so segregated to this day. And in Dr. Wilkerson's class, I began to ask why subjects like math and science become so gendered at an early age, why I, like so many other girls, were pushed out from them as early as elementary school. While each of these lessons have helped me understand why our schools are the way that they are, my new question as I move into this next chapter of my life is how? How can I make a difference? How can I begin to undo these inequalities? Now, the answer to how was not found in all of the readings and all of the lectures. It was inspiration through my classmates, many of whom are graduating among us today, who have shown me how to become the educator that I want to be. Claudia, I'm inspired by your passion for building community. Wasn't expecting to cry yet. Kefra, I'm inspired by your courage to bring challenging conversations to the classroom. Rocky, I'm inspired by your consistency and showing up and focus in class. Ethan, I'm inspired by your leadership in creating loving spaces that uplift aspiring educators. And Kelly, I'm inspired by your positive energy that reminds me daily of the joy that education can bring. Together, you've shown me that the act of receiving an education transcends far beyond just what we learn and what we teach. It is about the connection, the empowerment, and the community that it creates. Just last month, it was us, undergraduate education students, that came together to organize a protest against the federal administration's attacks on public education. And as I looked out upon the crowd from Sproul's steps, I felt this beautiful spirit of hope that together with the powerful and unique qualities that each of us brings, we are a force that is strong enough to transform the broken systems of our past and our present. That's right. Now, as I reflect on the inspiration that I have gained from all of you, I think back to 2 years ago when I transferred from my community college, College of Marin, to UC Berkeley. My mother, after seeing the enlightenment that my education had brought me, she came up to me and said, "Emma, anak, I want to follow in your footsteps. I want to be like you." That next day, she enrolled in classes at that same community college to pursue a degree in medical assisting. After 15 years of physically demanding work caring for patients in hospice facilities. So today, while I am the first in my family to graduate from college, in just 2 days, my mother, the woman who I immigrated to this country with, the woman who learned English as her third language after growing up in the Philippines, will be the second in my family to earn a college degree. I share this story to remind us that our journeys are not just our own, they are part of a much larger story. So, class of 2025, as we graduate today as the first students in UC Berkeley's history to earn a Bachelor's of Science in Education, we are the beginning of a story that will inspire generations of students to come, sparking curiosity in those who have long been searching for answers. But let us not forget that today, we are also inspiring the generations that came before us. Our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents who see in us our resilience, who see in us our passion, which inspired them to become the change makers that they still aspire to be. It is this intergenerational power and solidarity that will change the world. To the class of 2025, congratulations. Fiat Lux, and go Bears!
Thank you, Emma, for reminding us how we as educators are positioned to inspire others. What a wonderful, inspiring speech. Yeah. Our second speaker this evening is Keldon Clegg. Keldon is a graduate of the Principal Leadership Institute Master's Program and a proud East Bay native and vice principal of Berkeley High School, where he served for more than 15 years as a civics teacher, instructional leader, and advocate for educational equity and civic engagement. He currently supervises the Puente program, which supports historically underrepresented students in accessing and succeeding in higher education. Please join me in providing a very warm welcome to Keldon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Dean Young, and a huge thank you to everyone who has turned out to support public education. It is an honor and a privilege to speak as a member of the Principal Leadership Institute's 23rd cohort. One of the most resonating features of the PLI program that shifted my attitude, perspective, and energy are the PLI affirmations. 15 statements we recite as a cohort at the start of each term, before our major assessments, and just when things went bad. And as we close our PLI journey and formally begin life after PLI, I offer an additional affirmation for all of us. I have gratitude for the individuals, spaces, and communities that support, love, and inspire me to lead. In the spirit of this affirmation, I am using this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude for the individuals, spaces, and communities that supported, loved, and inspired me and our PLI cohort. As an educator, a task this large is hard to do, especially without scaffolds. Sadly, I don't have any graphic organizers. The acoustics here are terrible for a turn and talk, so I'm gonna rely on a tried and true old educator tactic, alliteration. Today, I offer an affirmation of gratitude for the variety of P's in our lives. First, partners, progeny, parents, and pets. Let us have gratitude for the ones we love, who hold, forgive, and uplift us as we aspire to our dreams. Excuse me. Thank you for your patience as we annotated readings at your birthday parties, turned our leadership rubrics into mosaics of index cards in our kitchens, and promised to be home right after class when we ended up closing down Triple Rock. Let us have gratitude for those we have lost but are still present in our choices, our values, our resilience. PLI has shown us we are never alone, nor could we ever do the work alone. Second, professors and PLI staff. Let us have gratitude for storytellers, researchers, and practitioners willing to share their wisdom and hold us accountable for its power. I have sincere thanks for lessons and classes that could be applied to our lives more largely. Our budgets are stories. Name and center race. Never underestimate the power of being able to set the table. Let us have gratitude for those who allow us to play and pretend. After one of the roughest days in my first week as an administrator, I went to class and was assigned a leadership metaphor to act out. 30 minutes later, I was pretending to braid a pony's hair and explaining its connection to my personal leadership. I don't need anyone to understand this beyond loving and appreciating a program that recognizes if we can be loose, confident, and in our own bodies and play, we can do the same during a crisis. Third, pupils. Let us have gratitude for the reason behind it all, our students, the ones we have had, the ones we have now, and the ones in the future. You are the why that kept us going when the how got hard. Thank you for your grace as we taught you while attending graduate school full-time. Know that you are the reason why we are educational leaders. And finally, the PLI cohort. Let us have gratitude for those who choose to lead classrooms, schools, and districts, despite and even because of the challenges of our time. Thank you to the 17 other beautiful, nimble, brilliant, and joyous school leaders graduating from PLI. We have cried together, lost our minds together, and rediscovered our why together. Thank you for holding one another accountable, for reminding us we are not heroes, even as we uncover our own superpowers. It is our PLI cohort's mindset, the balance of humility and drive, that shaped the name of my first PLI home group. We're not there yet. At first, it was a lighthearted joke, but like so much in PLI, it stuck because it's true. We're not there yet. Not because we've fallen short, but because the work is never finished. It's a journey to an unknown island. It's iteration, it's inquiry, it's continuous improvement. So if we're not there, where are we? We're far from where we need to be. We are in a moment where the fight for public education could not be more urgent. We are in a place where there are no more excuses. We are stronger than we seem, braver than we believe, smarter than we know. We are the shoulders that the next generation will stand on. We are the future of educational leadership. We are UC Berkeley graduates. We're not there yet, but we are absolutely here. Thank you.
Thank you, Keldon. What a beautiful example of the transformative power of education. Our third speaker today is Meg Stomski. Meg is graduating this year with her Doctorate of Philosophy in School Psychology. Meg was born in Japan, and she draws on her bicultural background and commitment to cultural humility in her approach to education and mental health. Meg is deeply committed to advancing equity and expanding access to high-quality care and educational support for historically marginalized youth. She has supported Bay Area communities, including Oakland Public Schools and Contra Costa Child and Adolescent Services, a community mental health agency. Please welcome Meg Stomski.
Wow, what an incredible feeling to stand here today, reflecting on how far we've come. My mom, who's in the audience today, is a Japanese language teacher, and she's always reminded me of the beauty in our words. There's a Japanese word I've been thinking about as I hold this journey, kizuna. It roughly translates to the bond that connects us, but it also speaks to a deeper collective strength, the kind built on trust, care, and shared purpose. I saw that kind of strength from the very beginning of my PhD. When I started at the Berkeley School of Education in 2020, many of us were logging into class from kitchen tables and bedrooms with shaky Wi-Fi and surprise visits from pets and roommates. It was a time of deep uncertainty, and somehow we still found ways to stay connected through virtual happy hours and scavenger hunts and group chats that faded in and out. It wasn't always consistent, but we found connection in the middle of disconnection through check-ins, shared struggles, and small moments of support. The BSE gave me more than academic training. It gave me community. I found friends and thought partners, people I spent hours in cafes talking through research, late night talks at conference hotels, and people who held me up when I was struggling through milestones. They reminded me I wasn't doing this work alone. One of the most meaningful parts of my time at the BSE was working as a student researcher at the Principal Leadership Institute. As a school psychology student stepping into the educational leadership space, I wasn't sure where I'd fit in, but I was met with openness and care. Collaborating across disciplines stretched my thinking and deepened my appreciation for different perspectives. It reminded me that real change doesn't happen in silos. It happens when we bridge disciplines and build relationships rooted in shared purpose. And that openness and care extended into so many of the relationships I formed here with professors, supervisors, and peers who often saw more in me than I saw in myself. To me, it was especially meaningful to be mentored by Asian American women like Drs. Chunyin Yang, Rebecca Chung, and Stephanie DaCosta. Their support went far beyond academics. In quiet moments and turning points, they reminded me that I belong in this field and that showing up fully as yourselves is not only enough, but powerful. Outside the BSc, the relationships I built in the broader community through schools and mental health practicums showed me what it means to be relationship in our work. This year as a school psychology intern in Oakland Public Schools, I sat with students carrying more than any child should: the death of a parent, housing insecurity, family incarceration. Some days we played with Play-Doh until it felt safe enough to speak. Other days I had long phone calls with caregivers, simply giving them space to share what they so often carry alone. What stayed with me wasn't any one intervention. It was that look when a student realized someone was really there for them. The shift in a caregiver's voice when they felt heard. The kind of connection that says, "You're not alone, I'm here, and I'll keep showing up." As a school psychology student, I've spent years thinking about how schools are more than academic institutions. They should be places where young people come to feel seen, safe, and valued. And whether we study teaching or leadership, school psychology or research, I believe we all share that same understanding, that education is built on relationships. Those relationships reminded me that progress doesn't always look like a breakthrough. Sometimes it's the quiet trust that builds over time, the unspoken understanding that someone sees you, hears you, and genuinely cares. And right now, that work feels more urgent than ever. Across the country, we're seeing rising attacks on education, on what can be taught, on who belongs, whether every student deserves safety and dignity. The needs are growing, and the systems feel stretched, and the work ahead is hard. But if the past few years have taught us anything, it's that we are capable of meeting complexity with creativity, with a stubborn commitment to hope. We know how to keep showing up for our students, for our communities, and for each other. We didn't just survive the last few years. We learned how to lead through the unknown. We found new ways to connect. We stayed when it was easier to walk away. And to me, that's what this journey has been, a tapestry of kizuna, of relationships across Zoom calls, classrooms, schools, and communities. Sometimes fragile, sometimes strong, but always holding us through uncertainty and change. As we step into whatever comes next, I hope we carry that spirit with us, not striving for perfection, but continuing to show up with care, with intention, and with each other. Because kizuna, the connections we've built here and the ones still ahead, are what will sustain us. And I'm proud and honestly a little relieved to be stepping into that future alongside all of you. Congratulations, class of 2025. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Meg. We share your relief in having BSc graduates going out into the world. And it is now my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Robert B. Reich. Robert B. Reich is Emeritus Carmel P. Friesen Professor of Public Policy at UC Berkeley's Goldman School of Public Policy. He has served in 3 U.S. administrations, including as Secretary of Labor under President Bill Clinton, a role for which Time magazine named him one of the 10 most effective cabinet secretaries of the 20th century. A prolific author, Professor Reich has written 18 books on economics, democracy, and social justice, and his groundbreaking work has reached millions through his award-winning documentaries, public media, and best-selling books, including Inequality for All, which sparked significant public debate and discourse around income inequality. In his work, he continues to remind us that education is not just a personal investment, it is a public good, and that public education in particular is a critical element of both democracy and opportunity. Please join me in welcoming Professor Robert Reich.
Well, parents and friends and significant others and insignificant others, and Dean Young and faculty and staff of this wonderful School of Education, along with Keldon, Clegg, and Meg Stomski, and Emma Rose Neal, thank you all. I'll be short. I love education. I've been teaching for most of the last 44 years. I also love UC Berkeley. It is one of the most powerful engines of upward mobility in America. 30% of our students transfer here from community colleges. Many are the first generation in their families to attend college. Now, this is all cause for celebration, but it also poses a paradoxical danger with inequalities of income and wealth wider today than they've been in over a century. Parents across America now face the possibility of unprecedented wealth for children with the quote-unquote right educational credentials, or possible poverty for those without. What you learn is what you'll earn, as the popular saying goes. When I was Secretary of Education, Secretary of Labor and Education, actually, I get them confused. They're the same thing. When I was Secretary of Labor, I used to go around the country saying exactly that. What you learn will determine what you earn. But here's the thing. If education is simply a private investment, yielding private returns, there's no reason why anyone other than the investor should pay for it, which may be why increasing numbers of parents around this country resist paying for the education of other children, especially those who are poorer or who require extra teacher time and resources. And why legislatures around this country have been cutting funding for public universities. If a university degree is a private investment offering a good return to the individual, they argue, why should taxpayers bear the cost? It would seem more appropriate for students and their parents to take out loans to cover it, just as people borrow for all sorts of other worthwhile investments, such as a new home or a business. But education is not just a private investment. It is also a public good. Our democracy depends on it. Throughout history, tyrants have understood that their major enemy is an educated citizenry. Slaveholders prohibited the enslaved from from learning to read. Nazis burned books. Putin and Xi censor the media. Our current president, no, I'll get to our current president in a minute. The point is, ignorance is the handmaiden of tyranny. America's founders knew this. They saw how easily emperors and kings could mislead uneducated publics. The arrival of a new nation required a public that was wise enough to keep power within bounds. People who were imbued, in the language of the time, with civic virtue. Thomas Jefferson assured Americans that if they could, quote, enlighten the people generally, tyranny and the oppressions of the mind and body will vanish like evil spirits at the dawn of the day. So America became the cradle of free, universal, public education. Now, I don't have any easy answers to all of the challenges we are facing in classrooms across this country. But educators and the public must never give up on these three principles: an education that is free, an education that is universal, an education that is public. And please, let's ban cell phones in schools. Or here's an idea. Maybe we tax social media platforms and we use the proceeds to give every public school student access to one-on-one tutoring. Now, if we stop thinking about education solely as a private investment on the way to a good-paying job, and see it really for what it is, as a public good, we would give every child an understanding of our political system, of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, separation of powers, checks and balances, and federalism. We would give every child an understanding of the meaning and importance of the rule of law, and why no one is above it. This is, after all, what we demand of people who want to become naturalized citizens. They have to pass a civics test covering the organization of the US government and the Constitution and American history. Every child in America should also understand why we are all obligated to make our system work better. And I don't mean just more efficiently, but also work for all the people, which means grasping the importance, the central importance of social justice, of equal political rights, and equal economic opportunity. Civic education should instill in young people a passion for truth, enabling them to think critically, be skeptical but not cynical about what they hear and read, find reliable sources of information, apply basic logic and analysis, and know enough history and the physical world to differentiate between fact and fiction. Such an education would also urge young people to communicate with others who do not share their views. Teach them how to listen. Teach them how to open their minds to the possibility that their own views and preconceptions may be wrong. To discover why people with opposing views believe what they do. One of the things I used to do in my classrooms here at Berkeley, one of the first things is ask my students to find people who disagree with them. Find other students who disagree with you. That is the best way of learning. Now, the current President of the United States does not appear to have learned any of this. Now, I don't want to say anything in this honorable assembly that might get me, or this wonderful school, or this great university, or this fabulous state of California into trouble. And I certainly don't want to offend any of you, so I'm going to just stick to the facts, all right? The facts. On the campaign trail, he vowed to, quote, liberate our children from the Marxist lunatics and perverts who've infested our educational system, unquote. He has canceled federal exams that measure student progress and ordered his wrestling executive turned education secretary to shut most of her department. He's attacking the freedom of speech of university students and professors, seeking to deport international students and faculty solely because of what they have said or written, threatening to halt federal funds to universities that practice DEI. Now, I don't mean to be impertinent, seriously, but what's wrong with diversity, equity, and inclusion? He is gutting the funding of the National Institutes of Health, which provides a large portion of biomedical research, and gutting the funding of the National Science Foundation, responsible for much of America's engineering and computer research. And along with certain governors, he's attacking the teaching in our schools of America's shameful histories of slavery and Native American genocide. He's cutting funding for libraries around the country, which is jeopardizing literacy development and reading programs, reliable internet access for those without it at home, and homework help for low-income students. Now, I keep hearing that all this amounts to an attack on the liberal state. We're the culmination of our culture wars. No. What's really occurring is an attack on the American mind, an attack on the foundation stone of American democracy. I could not imagine a better time to be graduating. I mean it. If everything were going wonderfully well, if we didn't face all of these challenges to democracy and education, if we didn't face the related problems of poverty and homelessness, climate change, racism, misogyny, and brutality here in the United States and around the world, let me ask you, you who are going to be getting your degrees in a few minutes, in the words of Mary Oliver, what would you do with your one wild and precious life? But you lucky soon to have your degree people, you face some of the most extraordinary challenges in this nation's history. What a fabulous time to be graduating. May you take these challenges on with a gusto worthy of this great university. May you take these challenges on with an excitement and enthusiasm worthy of those of us who believe in you. Educate like democracy depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Reich, for those inspiring words. And let's have another round of applause. We are at the point in our program where we will confer degrees to our Berkeley School of Education graduates. And we are delighted to have our very own Professor Lisa Garcia-Bedoya with us to confer our degrees. In addition to serving as Berkeley's Vice Provost for Graduate Studies and Dean of the Graduate Division, Lisa is also a beloved professor in the Berkeley School of Education. And as a scholar, she uses the tools of social science, particularly political science, to reveal the causes of educational and political inequalities in the United States. But as leader, Vice Provost Garcia-Bedoya is without question one of campus's most transformational leaders. Under her leadership, Graduate Division leads with policies that ensure excellence and equity in the admission and retention of the world's greatest graduate students. BSC is proud that she's one of our own, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you. And we also have with us today Dean Cynthia Gruzik, who is joining us from San Francisco State University, which partners with the School of Education in offering a joint degree for our PhD students in special education. Thank you for being here. So now we will confer our very first time our Bachelor of Science degrees. Professor and Director of Undergraduate Programs, Dr. Erin Murphy-Graham will assist in the recognition of undergraduate candidates. Will the candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree please come forward?
Emma Rose Neal. Ariana Castro. Ethan Daniel Collier Moreno. Kelsey Faith Diane Darnielle. Raquel Griffin. Kelly Lamb. Rachel Shu Yi Liao. Claudia Estefania Martinez. Swayam Patel. Naila Sumchai. Cristina Velázquez Martinez. Chen Yu. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your first cohort of Bachelors of Science candidates at the UC Berkeley School of Education. Thank you all so much. Will all the candidates for Bachelor of Science please rise if you are able? So I just wanted to say, in 1992, I graduated here in Zellerbach with my undergraduate degree, and never in 100 years would I imagine I would be in this position of having the privilege of conferring your degrees. So by the power vested in me by the President and the UC Regents, I hereby grant you the degree of Bachelor of Science in Education Science for our first inaugural class. You may move your tassel from the left to the right. Congratulations, and go Bears.
Thank you, Vice Provost, and congratulations, Bachelors of Science graduates. For graduate students, conferral involves a special recognition, the hooding ceremony. During the ceremony, a faculty member places the hood over the head of the graduate, signifying success in completing their program. The hood colors are determined by the institutions from which they graduate and their academic disciplines. The hoods the students will soon be wearing were specifically designed for their degree programs here at UC Berkeley, and the light blue trim on the hood signifies the field of education. Distinguished Professor and Head Graduate Advisor Mark Wilson will assist with the recognition of graduate candidates. Will the graduate candidates please rise and come forward to be hooded?
The following candidates are receiving the Master of Arts degree in Education. The first 13 will all be hooded by Derek Van Reenen, who is standing there ready to serve. Natalia Ackerman. You got a card for me? Oh, okay, of course. Raymond Banks. Anna Levin Burnick. Sierra Caffo. Theodore Hunsu Dean. Elena Lisette Day-Neco-Chair. Elena Flynn. Callan Fritsch. Malik McMorris Wero. Ryan Darnay Lacefield. Kayla Monet Williams.
My name is Bobby Prosser.
Robbie Prosser. Gotcha. It said Prosser, which is weird. Robbie Prosser. Erin Kundert. Kobe Huynh. Warren Wood, to be hooded by Glenda Hull. Lin Wei Yu, to be hooded by me. The following master's candidates are from our Berkeley Teacher Education Program, sometimes known as BTEP. And they will also be receiving a secondary teaching credential in English or social science. Each of them will be hooded by Jayla Delgado, Fatima Salahuddin, and accompanied by Kyle Beckham. First is James David Bagby. He's back to front. Chriselle Boron. Carla Castillo. Emma Cooper. Casey Cosgrove. Maya Farinas. Sophia Farouk. Kyla Faye Honeywell. Kaylee Angeles Larmore. Alan Liu. Tyrone Moore Perez. Jasmine Monique Morataya. Hayley North. Marguerite Helen Peterson. One V Fan. Kate Rose. The following Masters candidates are also from our BTEP program, and they will also be receiving a secondary teaching credential in math or science. They will be hooded by Veronica Vasquez and accompanied by Kyle Beckham. The first one is Catherine Nguyen Din. Jacqueline Hernandez. Benjamin Raymond Garamendi Hessa. Daniel Oscar Lazarus. Mac Martin. Madeleine Riley. The following Masters candidates are also from our BTEP program, and they will also be receiving an elementary teaching credential. They will be hooded by Manny Herrera and Ash Busby and accompanied by Kyle Beckham. The first one is Ariel Elba Pedrosa. Julissa Espinoza. Jana Lee. Alexandra Christine Ivalis Lysinski. Deanna Martinez Padilla. Kevin Matarazzi. Vanessa Montez de Oca Perez. Julia Louise Page. Ranjana Pandey. Lizeth Peña Sanchez. Lily Round. Bailey Wakefield. Erica Wynn. Nida Zahid. The following master's candidates are from our Principal Leisure Institute program. And they will also be receiving an Administrative Services credential. They will be hooded by program faculty Jabari Mahiri and Saroya Sablo Sutton. First, Julie Cordoba. Keldon Elliott Clegg. Challenge. Catherine Davis. Annie J. Fishberg Copeland. Celeste Hoffpow. Eric Husted. Kesha Nicole Jenkins. Kevin Terry Jennings Jr. Pong Pong John. Lizzie May. Griffin Munsell. Shatrisa Nixon. Shayna Rayhart. Amy Sandoval Arroca. Tamar Miriam Sabin Sberlo. Stephanie Schauder. Kyle Tanner. Oh yes, Almost well, gorgeous. Well, they're gorgeous. Jordanas Jordugorgis.
Will the candidates for the Master of Arts degree please stand if you are able? By the power vested in me by the President and the Regents, I grant you the degree of Master of Arts. You may move your tassel from the right to the left.
Thank you, Vice Provost, and congratulations, Masters of Arts graduates. Distinguished Professor and Associate Dean of the Berkeley School of Education, Glenda Hull, will assist Professor Wilson with the recognition of our next set of candidates. I'm pleased to present the Doctor of Education and the Doctor of Philosophy candidates. Will the Doctor of Education and Doctor of Philosophy candidates please rise and come forward?
Francis Rojas, to be hooded by Derek Van Reenen and Ozgi Hasifagsloo.
A transformative school leader and educator, Francis has also been a thoughtful and dedicated advocate for our exemplary graduate students in the BSc. Utilizing a culturally responsive school leadership framework, his novel research analyzes how extracurricular activities hold profound potential for inclusion, community building, and personal development within the high school experience. Congratulations, Francis.
Jeremy Tyler Martin.
Jeremy Martin has completed a path-breaking study of how private foundations, large and small, generously lift African heritage children, students, and communities. Jeremy is going forward to improve strategies in the foundation world during a challenging time, but he's powered by his big heart and caring smarts. Congratulations, Jeremy.
Catherine Hay-June Park, to be hooded by Glenda Hull. Catherine Park's scholarship reveals the warp and weft of global forces and local lives. Her dissertation, A Vertical Ethnography of a Mandarin English Dual Immersion School, underscores contemporary geopolitical relations, the socio-material status of Mandarin, and Asian immigrant and racial positioning within the US. This is important work opening avenues to reconceptualise racial and linguistic equity. Julia Zhu, to be hooded by Jabari Mahiri.
Julia, your evolution as a scholar is impressive. You extended your qualitative research to develop a mixed methods dissertation exploring meritocratic beliefs in the US, Finland, and China. This multidimensional study has already resulted in prestigious journal publications, as well as your selection to be an assistant professor at Xi'an Jiao Dao, Liverpool University.
Po Nu Vu, to be hooded by Laura Stepani.
Through community-based research, Pa's dissertation has centered Hmong youth as key agents in language reclamation. She will carry this work forward in a postdoctoral position at the University of Wisconsin, leading multi-generational research and grassroots efforts in partnership with community organizations that serve Hmong individuals and families. Congratulations, Ah.
Erin Ansel Foley, to be hooded by Adam Graves.
Erin Foley is a powerhouse. She's studying how teachers of the visually impaired work to support the spatial literacy that students need to interpret and create the scientific graphs and diagrams that are so often used to communicate about our world. She's also a fantasy book writer, enthusiastic naturalist, and devoted mother and friend. Congratulations, Erin.
Franklin B. Mejia, to be hooded by Patricia Bacadano Lopez.
Your commitment to teachers and students is reflected in your important work. Thank you for modeling how to do academic work with dignity and respect. Congratulations.
Doria Shao, to be hooded by Sophia Rabe-Esquez.
Doria's research advances statistical and computational methods for evaluating children's development and growth. And some of this work just got published in the leading journal in her field. Her next step is a postdoc at Stanford. Congratulations, Dr. Xiao.
Brittany Cooper, to be hooded by Dor Abeson.
Cooper is graduating from the Joint Doctoral Program in Special Education. Her transformational research has created a new paradigm for non-speaking children to learn how to communicate through technology. In doing so, Cooper has also corroborated cutting-edge theories about the human mind, an incredible achievement. Professor Soto and Professor Abramson are immensely impressed. Go, Cooper.
Meg Stomski, to be hooded by Chunyun Yang.
Dr. Stomski, thank you for bringing heart, courage, and insight to research that truly matters. Your focus on AAPI youth, mental health, and bullying prevention reflects both deep scholarship and lived compassion. Your voice helps create safer, more inclusive spaces. Your future is bright, and your impact already shines. Congratulations, Dr. Stomski.
Shui Chin Lin, also to be hooded by Chunyun Yang.
Dr. Dr. Lin, your thoughtful research on family-school partnerships in social and emotional learning within rural TK settings shines with deep care and commitment. By engaging communities across California, you uplift voices often overlooked in policy. Your research offers critical insights that will shape equitable, inclusive, universal pre-K policy. We're honored to witness your impact.
Daryl Dipty. To be hooded by Frank Worrell.
After graduation, Lieutenant Dipty will continue his work as a learning scientist, developing mind-body tools that help students thrive in STEM. He looks forward to traveling the world with his wife and writing a book on how aligning our inner world can transform the outer one, from a beach with strong coffee and no internet.
David Henry Stevens. Also to be hooded by Frank Worrell.
David's research interests include the measuring of student-level opportunity, alternative methods for evaluating the efficacy of equity-centered interventions, and the improvement of practices for identifying and supporting high-need students in K-12 schools. Upon completing his dissertation, David joined the Research Evaluation and Assessment Department at Berkeley Unified, where he is continuing this work.
Edwin Carlos Jr. Also to be hooded by Frank Worrell.
Edwin Carlos studies Filipino-American ethnic, racial identity, and mental health outcomes. He will be an assistant professor in school psychology at Seattle University next year. He will also be working with the Filipino and Asian American community in Seattle, exploring the intersection of education, Asian American studies, and cultural psychology, and getting his psychology license.
Jenna Elise Greenstein. To be hooded by Frank Worrell. He's been working hard.
In her dissertation, Jenny examined coordination of services teams, promotion of school-based mental health. She studies how schools use sustainable funding and collaboration to increase equitable access to mental health services for youth. After graduation, Jenny will be a postdoctoral psychology fellow at the CPMC Kalmanovitz Child Development Center at Sutter Health in San Francisco.
Wa Luau. Also to be hooded by Frank Worrell.
Elaine Luau's research focuses on how family and school contexts shape adolescents' ethnic, racial identity, and mental health. This fall, she will join Florida State University as an assistant professor in school psychology, where she looks forward to continuing to advance our understanding of adolescent development and training the next generation of school psychologists.
Ming Feng Shay, to be hooded by me.
Ming Feng, a graduate of our PhD program in social research methods, will be joining the faculty of the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. His research examines how to combine two of the principal measurement methodologies, generalizability theory and IRT, in a way that makes the results more meaningful. Congratulations, Ming Feng.
So will the Doctor of Education and Doctor of Philosophy candidates please rise if you are able? By the power vested in me by the President and the UC Regents, I hereby grant you a Doctor of Education and Doctor of Philosophy degrees. Your tassels are fixed, so you don't have to do anything. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Doctors of Philosophy, and congratulations, Doctors of Education. Now, distinguished professor and conductor Frank Worrell will lead the Berkeley School of Education Choir in 2 songs chosen in tribute to our graduates.
Good afternoon, parents, friends, graduates. Congratulations to all. Our first piece is one that we first sang at Commencement in 1992, a parting wish to the graduates. It's also called an Irish blessing. May the road rise to meet you.
To meet you, may the wind be always at your back, may the sun shine warm upon your face, may the rain fall soft upon your fields, and until we meet again, may the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rain fall soft upon your fields, and until we meet again, may the world be in the palm of your
And our first speaker talked about not doing things only in English. We will try to do something in another language. We're going to sing a song that is used in ceremonies in many parts of the world. We hope you enjoy it. Please join us on the chorus.
Professor Worrell and the Berkeley School of Education Choir for that beautiful tribute to our graduates. Please join me in another round of applause for our speakers today. Our choir, and our dedicated commencement staff, our distinguished faculty, and our brilliant Berkeley School of Education graduates. Congratulations. I invite all of you to join our reception outside following the procession. So guests, please remain in your seats as the faculty and graduates recess, and then join your graduates out in the plaza right outside. Will the faculty and graduates please rise?